The Dig is a new Netflix film that released today, and it's not worth watching. It's quite boring and unengaging and uninvesting, but yeah. So this film, you think it's gonna go one way, and it's. I will say there is good qualities to this movie. Before I get into the negatives, first of all, the cinematography, for the most part, is good. Sometimes it's a bit distracting from what's going on in the movie, but for the most part, it's fantastic. Um, so that's a plus with this movie. It looks pretty, and as someone who likes pretty movies, I like that. Um, and the performances all around are fantastic. But um, the writing and the way the movie goes is not fantastic. You're introduced to two characters in the first part of this movie, and then all of a sudden you're introduced to more characters, and it stops, and that happens 40 minutes into the movie. So you're following these characters, you're like, oh, okay, and then you start getting all bored, and all of a sudden, randomly, some more characters start being introduced, and the characters you were following in the first act of the movie are no longer the main characters of the movie, and you're no longer following them and what they're going through, and it just becomes this really, really boring, uninteresting, blah film, kind of about nothing. It's a terrible movie, because you can't do that to an audience when you're making a film. You know, it's quite irritating. I mean, if you want me to be invested, then maybe you should focus on building my investment with the characters I was watching. But they didn't do that, and they just kind of said screw you, and then now we're going to focus on some other characters for no reason, and it didn't really go anywhere. It wasn't very interesting. I mean, this movie is about almost 2 hours, and that's not bad. I don't care about a movie's length, as long as it earns the length, but I didn't feel like it needed to be. There were several points within this film I felt like scenes could have been trimmed down, cut out, or edited down. Um, but yeah, it just wasn't a very interesting watch. I wouldn't recommend it. There are some moments that are engaging and interesting, but not enough to really say it's worth watching at all. If it looks interesting to you, you may like it, but I wouldn't know. So that's the dig.